Those animals don't even live to be, 6 months. Like they get killed in the early, when they're young and vulnerable. And so it's like you really look at it and you're like, well, is it better off for them to be in a zoo where they're in like a environment where it's controlled, they're not being naturally preyed on, they're getting food, there's no like stressors from like other prey or like lack of food or lack of water. I'm sure there's some kind of stress that comes in when they're in a building or in an enclosement where they're like probably seeing the same stuff. But is it better off for them to be in that, or is it better off for them to be in the wild?
Like whenever I see the tigers at the zoo, I'm always like, are you thinking like, I wish I could eat you right now,
Oh, when they're staring through the glass? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Well, and they, you'll see it a lot of times with the gorillas. You know what I'm saying? When they're just like staring at you through the glass. I'm thinking to myself like, dude, they probably are like, I would rip you in half right now if I was out there. But yeah, you see it with the tigers are sneaky because tigers they're like made to sneak up on you or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been to SeaWorld, but I did watch that documentary and I was like, this is crazy. Because like you think they're happy because they're doing all these tricks and stuff and people are like loving on them and they're like doing all these cool things, but then you see one of those orcas like just completely rip somebody apart and drown them and then act normal. Like they're just like nothing ever happened. And we forget that they are wild animals and they have wild instincts. So I don't know. Sometimes and even with dogs, sometimes when they get in that pack mentality, that's when a lot of the, injuries and stuff to humans and deaths and stuff, like they just get all riled up and they just go animal mode, It's crazy. But then again, it's like, some people, they don't care. They want to take the risk, but it's pretty crazy. But Martha, are we ready to roll?
We're rolling.
Okay.
Can you put your phone in airplane mode real quick?
Yeah. Does it affect anything?
Yeah, if someone calls you, it'll stop your recording.
Okay.
Learned it the hard way.
Okay.
Family Files.
Huh?
Family Files, episode 1.
The Family Files, episode 1. We have my dear sister, Stephanie Crow. Originally Stephanie Donay, and now Crow. So Stephanie Donay Crow. But we're happy about the Crow because she's married to an awesome, awesome man, Tim Crow. Y'all shouted him out many times, wanted him on the show. I was speaking with Stephanie earlier. She doesn't think that we're going to get Tim Crow. So, that's one we're going to be working on for y'all. But this is Family Files episode 1. All the homies. My boy Jay Little is out in Ohio with his in-laws, having a good old time of whatever they do in Ohio, clean up chemical spills or whatever they do out there, and go Browns. But today we got my wonderful sister. Known her ever since I was born. And, I wanted to start off today with, this is super chill and, we just got camera up and we're just going to talk. But I want to know your favorite memory of me as a child. Like, what is like one memory that really sticks out from our childhood? Because, for you guys who know my family, there's an age gap between me and some of my siblings. And I know that Stephanie used to take us to Halloween parties. Birthdays were always special. Like, being Middle Eastern in American culture, it wasn't normal for our family or moms and dads to bring us stuff at school, like for your birthday or for Valentine's Day. So like we would see all these like American kids getting stuff and we were like, me and Martha were like, this sucks. But then Stephanie would always come through because she was just American enough to know what was going on. So you made all our birthdays so special, and Christmas, and still to this day, you've never forgot anybody's birthday. So you're the best. Anyway, what is one of your favorite memories of us as children, or specifically me as children? You know, like a good memory and then a memory that's like maybe not so good. So do you have anything off the top of your head that you remember? Because I know there's a couple times that I puked in your car. So I don't know if you're going to name those. Or I remember one time.
I don't know if you want me to share.
No, you can share whatever you want. I know one time, I'm just going to go ahead and get this off the table so you can't blackmail me with it. One time, it was back when in my chubby stage, I remember eating so much popcorn at the movie theater. You took us to the movies, and me and Tim, we used to make this contraption. Something was wrong with us. I don't know why nobody stopped us back then, but we would take a large bucket of popcorn. We would put every spice. You know how they had like the table where you like pick one spice or whatever, you put it on there, seasoning. We would take every seasoning, throw it on there. Then we would take jalapenos that were made for the
nachos.
for the nachos, and just dump them on there, and we would just eat it. And it was like, and I remember eating so much one time I puked in your car. So yeah, that was crazy. But do you have any specific memories, you know, from all these years of like favorite memory, least favorite memory, you know, any of that?
I mean, I guess my favorite memories would probably be taking you trick or treating. You know, dressing up you and Martha and Timothy. One year I made you a lion costume.
Yeah, I remember that one. I never looked happy in those pictures. Why was
You're
that?
Like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, I was
and
like.
then one year you and Martha were Animaniacs.
Yeah, and then Tim didn't want to be one.
Yeah.
and then we won the contest.
Yeah, and then he
Dude,
was
that's
mad.
the best story ever. Because like, if you guys know my brother Tim, he's like the oldest. So you know, like old child syndrome, middle child syndrome, youngest child syndrome, and basically we were dressing up as Animaniacs. I don't really remember this. I just remember the pictures, just slight memories. But it's funny that my oldest brother, he didn't want to, because there's 3 right in the Animaniacs, and so we were the 2, and then he was supposed to be the last one or the first one, and then it was funny because we won the contest only with 2 of them.
Yeah.
So we still rub that in his face to this day when that comes up. That's pretty cool. I remember like a lot of fond memories, but you know, the biggest thing and the reason we're here today is we're here to talk about our love for animals. You know, I'm an animal lover. I've always, you know, gotten some inspiration from you. You're the original animal lover that I've always looked up to. Speaking of that, our stray cat Smokey needs some more drops in his ears because he's making some weird sounds again. Every time that he has like some issue, I don't know what it is, and anyway, every time he needs these drops in his ears, I can't like grab him and just put these drops in his ears, so it scares me. But so I always call my wonderful sister Stephanie. She's a animal lover for many, many years, has lots of experience with cats and dogs and turtles, and we'll get to all that kind of great stuff. But you're going to definitely have to stop by and do some drops because he's making those weird sounds again. He makes a lot of weird sounds. Seriously, very weird sounds. There was one time me and my sister, we were literally like going to go grab a gun because we thought something was going on outside. Cats can make some pretty crazy sounds.
Yeah.
And their vocal range is like, I feel like they only show us 10% of their vocal range because when they start using that other, it sounds so human that it's like scary. I don't know if you've ever heard those sounds before, but they have a really weird set of, you know, skills. So do you remember how you first started falling in love with animals? I know cats you're definitely your favorite, right?
Well, before we go on, I thought of one more thing.
Yeah.
The Hulk gloves I bought you when you were little. Do you remember those? I bought you those as a present one time. And
I still have them.
I just remember you playing with those and it being kind of funny. Mom
Yeah.
didn't like them very
Yeah.
much and she would hide them from me.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I still have those Hulk gloves. Honestly, any kid that comes over now that just needs something to stay busy with, I'm like, you want some Hulk gloves? And they're like, yeah. So it's been like a generational gift. Their thumb is missing. I think I took a bite out of one of them. I don't know. I went through some weird stages. But anyway, tell me how, first of all, you started your love for animals. Was it something that you inherently feel like you had? Because I personally think that it's something you either have or you don't have. It can be trained in some people sometimes. Like you can close gaps but I feel like more so than not, it's like something inherent. Did you feel like it was something inherent for you?
I mean, as far as I can remember, I've always loved animals. Earliest memory with cats would be just like either feeding stray cats in the neighborhood or like one time we were overseas and some of the neighborhood kids were chasing a cat. Like, it seemed like over there cats weren't treated as well at the time, maybe.
In the Middle East, right?
Yeah. And so
I still think to this day they're not really treated that good in a lot of countries in the world, yeah.
So, like, I remember chasing the cat and getting it myself and then taking it in the house and, like, locking the door because I was afraid they were going to hurt it. And then, like, when we lived at Hope School, I remember taking care of a stray cat that was just, like, hanging out behind the house and stuff.
Right.
So, I guess ever since I've been little, or ever since I was little, I've always liked to take care of animals if I could.
So it was more like of an inherent, like, thing that you just felt called or led to do. I feel like that's how it is with me too, is like I have a real soft spot for animals, and especially animals like in need. And I know that's a lot of what you do, or you know, a lot of the cats that you have are cats that were like in need or on the road or you know, abandoned and stuff like that. So do you remember your first cat, like your first and like the first pet you ever had?
As far as a child or as
either one. Yeah, either one.
I mean, growing up, we had a couple of dogs.
Okay.
And I probably took care of some stray cats occasionally.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dad really liked cats too
Yeah.
much. But we did have a couple of dogs. Like, we had one named Prince and one named Shaggy that we had for a long time.
So you were like okay with the dogs?
Yeah, and then we actually had a dog booster that when we were little. That's what my dog was named after later.
Okay.
I do remember having a pet cat at one point because it got run over now that I think about it. So I had a few pets growing up.
Right.
And then as far as an adult, like when I was in college and me and Tim were dating, I asked him if we could get a cat. So he kept the cat for a while before we got married. And
what cat was that?
Just one from the shelter.
Okay.
Rescue cat, I guess.
Yeah.
But Molly.
That was Molly?
Heard the Molly stories.
Oh. Yeah, I was going to ask about Molly. We'll definitely get to Molly. But yeah, but Molly was like an abused cat. Is that why she was kind of...
I don't really know like what her background is. Like, we just, paid $20 to get her from the shelter. And
best $20 you ever spent?
Sometimes I wondered if Tim made her mean because the vet said that... he would just play games with her when she was a kid and, take her head kind of, and it's cute when they're little and they're trying to fight you or smack at you. But when they get older, it's not so cute anymore. Yeah. So the vet was just saying, it's best not to use your hand as a toy to play with the animals because they associate your hand with, something to catch or scratch.
Oh, true.
Something it's better to play with, toys or something like that.
Yeah. So. Wow, that's crazy. So you got Molly while you were in college, and then you had Molly for a long time.
Yeah, several years.
What's the typical lifespan of a cat?
If a cat's outdoors, they usually live maybe 2-3 years up to about 8 years. But if they're indoor cat, they can live up to about 25 years.
Jeez, that's nuts. Is it because there's not a lot of outdoor stressors or whatever?
Yeah, just there's no no predators and they're not gonna get hit by a car.
True.
Or get attacked by a dog or something like that.
Yeah, like the unforeseen incidents. Yeah. So do you think that weather plays a role in it as well, like temperature? I'm
sure, especially when it gets really cold.
Are they sensitive to temperature? I know dogs are super sensitive to temperature.
I would think, we sometimes in the winter try to make little shelters for the cats, out of old styrofoam coolers or things, so they have somewhere kind of warm to go. But
So are your cats? Are they pretty much all friendly together? Do you have any kind of issues?
We have two that hate each other.
Oh, for real?
So we keep one of them in the this part of the house, and the other another. But
what's the beef?
I don't know.
You don't know? Are they? What's the gender on them?
A male and a female.
Oh, so they might just be flirting.
More like trying to kill each other.
Sometimes you could toe the line with that. Maybe one day you're gonna come home and find little babies. You know what I'm saying? You never know.
All our animals are fixed except our youngest one. But.
Hey, there's still miracles. You know what I'm saying? You never know. Little angel cat could come down and say you're gonna have babies. You know. But anyway, so you started loving cats from a young age. You got your own. The first one you had was Molly. Molly was, from what I remember, was like pretty crazy. Is it just my childhood brain that remembers she was scary? Because I remember being like scared of Molly. Like my first experience with cats were negative because, we were raised in a household, same as you really, that we didn't really have pets. Like we had a dog for a short period of time, but we really couldn't take care of them. And from our culture, that they don't really, it's not a thing to have pets. So. It's kind of difficult, I'm sure, for you growing up, loving animals so much in a culture that doesn't really love animals so much. I mean, that's got to be, I've heard the stories of you trying to have pets and the parents were like, no, you can't have them and stuff. That's definitely got to be emotionally, but it made you who you are today. I think it just kind of doubled down your love for them. But do you think, with cats, like in Molly's situation, like do cats just have personalities based on just like genetics, or does each one have a unique personality depending on the way they were raised, or does that play any kind of role in the way they are?
I think it's both. Like I think the way a cat's treated for sure affects its temperament. Like there was a stray cat that we took care of that I'm pretty sure had been abused because she wouldn't let us come anywhere close to her for like years and years, and then after after a long time,
you just found her.
Yeah, she's just a stray that was hanging outside. But Elizabeth, after a long time, would go outside and sit, and try to feed her and stuff. And eventually she warmed up to her. But it took, even before Elizabeth was born, I was trying to feed her and stuff, and she was always, terrified of people. So I do think the way an animal's treated can definitely affect its temperament, it's scared of people and stuff. But I also think that certain breeds seem to be more calm than others. There's the tortoiseshell cats that are multicolored, black, brown, orange. Which
you have one, right?
Yeah. She's the one that's kind of, I guess you'd say, spicy. And a lot of people say torties have toot, and I think that's kind of
you heard it here. Torties have toot, y'all.
Yeah. Because I don't know, she kind of has an attitude. But also, we had another tortoiseshell cat at one point, and she wasn't really spicy like this one, but she also wasn't super affectionate. She would come every once in a while, want you to pet her, but most of the time it was leave me alone. And then it seems like I've had two of the cats that are all gray, Gracie.
Yeah.
And they both seemed real chill and sweet and stuff. And so I don't know.
Yeah, because I know Smokey, our ex-stray cat who now lives in the garage, who stays around the house. He's definitely more loving. Wants to always be you come home, he's running in the garage to see what's up, try to jump in your car, and even if he doesn't want food, he wants to be around you and love on you and stuff. And he's a gray cat.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always had the experience that more solid base colored cats usually seem to be more friendly. Anytime a cat would and that might be due to just natural predation, right? Because they stick out more in nature. Maybe they're a little bit more set off,
I don't know, maybe so.
That's pretty crazy. But okay, so you had Molly, and then how did you get into your cat loving stage after that? Because if you don't know, Stephanie is a huge cat lover, big cat activist. We're gonna get into how she helps stray animals. We'll get into the story about how you found the one kitty that had issues with its eye and rehabbed it. We're going to post her TikTok. She's a big cat lover, animal activist. She's always doing stuff to help animals, which is great. I think that the best thing that you can do as a human is be the voice for somebody that doesn't have a voice, right? Because animals can't be activists for themselves. And I think there's a lot of, all joking aside, there's a lot of things that, happen, and there's tragedies that happen with humans and stuff. But a lot of times with animals, it's not of their doing, right? Because animals are kind of under the stewardship of us. And a lot of times they can get in bad situations where they're being abused, or they're being mistreated, or they're just not being taken care of. you'll see stray cats all the time, or like little kittens and
Yeah.
stuff that, you try to help us save, little kittens before at my grandma's house when she had those stray cats. And sometimes you can do it and sometimes you can't, but you're that motherly figure for things that can't take care of themselves. So kudos to you. I think that's really awesome. So you got Molly. That was kind of like your first, you love Molly. So was Molly better with you or with Tim?
I mean, most of the time Molly was fine. She was like, sometimes you'd be walking across the room or something and she like pounce on your feet or something or try to bite your toes. So I really think Steven kind of blew it up more to where y'all were scared of him.
Yeah.
Like he would make jokes about how when he come to the house she'd be staring out the window. And,
I remember those.
Say
yeah.
She was going, get out.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of probably blew that up in
Yeah.
her head. I mean, she would bite or scratch a little bit, but it wasn't like she was.
So it was more just like
terrible.
Aggressive playfulness.
Yeah, I
than
think
anything.
it was just. I think like learning from that. I think learning not to play with them super aggressive when they're little, because when they get older, it doesn't feel so good when like when they're a little kitten and they smack at you or something. It doesn't really hurt, but when they get bigger, it can. So like learning different ways to play with them, I think.
Oh, okay. So you had Molly, and then do you remember your next cat? Like, how did you end up going? Like, okay, I want to have multiple cats, and this is kind of going to be my thing. Because there's people who are dog people who have like 5 or 6 dogs, or there's people who even go into crazier animals like snakes and reptiles and birds. Big. There was a guy that I went to his house. He was a monkey breeder. He just had monkeys swinging from trees, and I was like, wow. I mean, how did you pick? Like, okay, was it anything about their personality, or was like what led you to like cats more than?
I don't really know. I've always been like just attracted to cats.
Okay.
Like I've always just been interested in them and thought they were kind of cool.
Right.
The second cat I got, I think, was Blackie, and my friend had called, and a stray cat was hanging around their house, and because it was winter and it was cold, it had gotten up in their car, and when the car got started, they didn't realize the cat was up in it. Its leg got injured, and she was telling me that she thought it was probably going to die, and of course I felt sorry for it, and I said, well, I'll come and get it and see if I can do anything for it, and like just took care of her and stuff, and raised her for a long time. She was a super sweet cat. And then I was trying to think order. I don't know.
I remember Blackie.
And then Norma was the cat that I was telling you about, that was just a stray that was hanging around the house, and wouldn't let us pet her for like probably at least 10 years.
Right.
Like we would feed her every night, but she wouldn't come close to. She just didn't trust people, and then eventually Elizabeth kind of won her over, and then we started taking her in the house.
You think because Elizabeth was younger at the time and like kind of like smaller figure that Norma kind of trusted her more?
Maybe, and I'm sure like food motivated sometimes, because she was feeding her.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably because like, even though I like cats, I probably wasn't going to sit outside for 30 minutes waiting for a cat to come up to me, just because as an adult, you have lots of things to do and stuff. And I think she just took the time,
Right. Now back in college, you would have.
Yeah, maybe.
you would make Tim do it. That's awesome. So tell me how in the lineage, where does your beautiful cat that you brought today lie?
So today I brought Gracie, and she was actually at Steven's house, and he called when he lived at the condo because she kept hanging around their house, and
so she was a stray.
She was a stray.
So most all your cats are strays, right? Okay, that's awesome. That's cool.
He called and asked if I might take her because Ksenia felt really bad for her, but Steven's allergic, so they couldn't take it in. So allergic. I picked her up. Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are allergic. Yeah. A lot of Arabic women, they're allergic to cats.
But yeah, and then I had a cat named Muffin, and she's the one I found in the parking lot. And she just I was just gonna pet her, but she kept following me, and then I put her back in the grass, and she followed me again,
you
stuff.
can't leave her
then. Okay, Tim's gonna kill me, but I just took her home anyway. And then she ended up having babies, and that's when She had 3 cats, and
let's go.
I raised, we raised them for a year, and then Tim kept telling me that I had to put them in the shelter.
Oh,
and,
no.
So we tried calling around to find some places that would take them, but like almost every place was like, a kill shelter. It couldn't guarantee that something would happen to him. And so then I was like, we can't take them, they'll kill them. And then I was like, we can't split them up, they're a family, So eventually he let me keep them,
let's go.
Reluctantly, but
that's a win for Tim, for sure. You can't split them up. I mean, you can't. And the problem is, I don't think there's a great industry, or there's not a great kind of setup for animals in the U.S. It's like people love to get baby animals, like puppies, kittens, little bunny rabbits and stuff. But then a year later, when they're grown up, or their kids are not paying as much attention to them or whatever, they're just kind of leaving them outside, or letting them go, and they're turning into strays, or having kids. And I think it's an issue because you see it now more than I've seen it in the past, but there's every shelter that you go to is always full. And I mean, they're not getting any smaller. They're just building more and more.
One of the big issues with cats is, I think a lot of people don't realize that they can have babies as young as 4 months, 4 to 6 months. They can start having babies, and
what a life!
Sometimes they can get pregnant from multiple cats, so have multiple litters, and so whenever we have gotten cats, we've always tried right away to get them fixed. It's pretty early. Just because even if you try to keep them outside, sometimes they'll run out, or things like that. And
when they go into heat, they turn into different animals. Jeez, because our stray cat, he goes into heat every 6 months? That's when he starts making those ghost sounds, and I'm so scared. He'll go right up to your window and start making ghost sounds. I think I'm on Paranormal Activity on the History Channel. I'm what is going on right now?
So that's the only cat that we've had that actually has had kittens, and that was just because when I took her home, she was already pregnant,
Oh, okay.
But
you really got a 3-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
Not according to Tim.
1,
4-for-1 deal. Yeah.
And then I did call around and find a place that we like to use Dixie Day Spay in Cleveland, Tennessee, but they
shout out Cleveland.
Yeah.
I love Cleveland.
They agreed to have them all fixed for $100, all 4 of them.
Oh, that's a good deal.
So that was nice.
I don't know anything about fixing cats, but that sounds like a good deal to me.
So, but if if I didn't do that, it's surprising how in a heartbeat it could get out of hand.
Yeah.
You get one cat, and then it has kittens, and then they have 3 or 4 kittens, and then they grow up. And
for example, my cousin David, we've been watching all the Harry Potter movies together. We've been trying to watch them on Fridays, and we've been busy and haven't got together every week, but over the span of a couple months we tried to watch Harry Potter, and he had a couple cats at first, and then it would be I'd come over 2 months later and there was more cats, and then I'd come over 2 months later and it's an army of cats, and I'm he's bro, I don't know where all these cats are coming from. He's I just feel, he just takes a little swimming pool and just puts food in it.
Yeah.
Just because he's got so many cats running around. They're all over the cars and everything. And they're all you could tell a couple of them are this color, a couple of them are this color. They're all just now it's just a cat army over there. I bet there's no rats or snakes anywhere on that property. But yeah, they can multiply pretty.
That's what I'm saying. It can happen fast. And like I said, if a mama has kittens, within 4 or 5 months, those kittens can start having kittens, and then you got 4 or 5 having kittens, and then their kittens can have kittens, so it can happen fast.
So getting them fixed is important for sure. Yeah. Well, I think getting an animal fixed is kind of crazy, but at the same time, it can be good. It can save their life.
I mean, I have felt bad getting them fixed because I do feel they're in pain for a little bit for a few days, and so I don't know. I guess. In some ways, you wonder if you should, but then also if you don't, if you do end up with a cat army, then you're not going to be able to take care of all of them.
Right.
And it's probably some of them are going to end up getting hurt or killed anyway because they're going to, be strays and running out on the road or running around the neighborhood, and something's going to a dog's going to I know a lot of people that have had kittens and coyotes have gotten a hold of them, or a dog has gotten a hold of them.
And them being in heat makes them more apt to go out and be looking for a mate. And that can lead to other things like coyotes and dogs, and because they're more irrational. I mean, that's every like deer hunter knows, like that time of year when it's the rut and the males are looking for mates, like that's when they're the most irrational and they're not worried as much about hunters and stuff like that. So that's when they get hunted. So, but yeah, I think it's a necessary evil, I guess, that has to happen. I mean, you feel bad because you want them to run their natural course of life, but also at the same time, like I think modern medicine has helped a lot in just quality of life for animals as well. So that's cool. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I believe too that if you get them spayed or neutered, that they're less likely to get cancer for some reason.
True.
Maybe
So
because of hormones, I don't know.
do you think that getting an animal fixed as soon as you get is the best way to go about it, or do you like kind of leave a little bit of time before you get them fixed, or?
Like I used to always try to get them fixed, like as soon as I thought they could have babies. But with my newest kitten, I've been waiting a little bit, and I guess because we got a dog, and I started looking into the dog, and trying to research what would be best for her. I did find out that if you can wait a little bit, like at least their first cycle going in heat and stuff, that it's probably healthier for the animal. But then also there's other issues, like if you have we had a female dog, you have to be careful because if they go into heat, they can attract other dogs or other animals might come to your property, even if you have the animal inside. And even like I've read multiple cases where even if your dog's in a fence or in a kennel, like sometimes the dogs could attach between the fence and stuff. So it can be hard to get them through a cycle without something happening if you have them outside at all, or if they get outside at all. But I guess ideally I think it might be healthier for them if you could get them through their first cycle and then get them spayed.
Right.
But it depends. Like if they're all the time inside and that's not going to be an issue for them to get pregnant, then it might be fine to wait. But if they're outside at all, it's probably better, even if they're in a kennel outside, to go ahead and get them fixed, because even if an animal can't get to them, they can still attract animals to your property and cause some issues, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well, speaking of Gracie, can we get Gracie with us? We have our animal wrangler, Elizabeth. Let's go. Gracie looks like she's living a good life. Got it made. So, talk to me about Gracie. Tell me, you got the call from your brother, said that there's a stray cat hanging around the house. Okay. He's allergic, can't help it. So, so walk me through the story about Gracie. How did you guys?
Well, I always joke that if it wasn't for Tim, I'd probably be a crazy cat lady with like 50 cats, because
so Tim's putting
he
the
always
brakes
has to be
on.
like, we have enough cats, because every time I see a cat, I'm like, oh, I want the cat, But so I didn't know, like I asked him about it, and he was like, but he was like, okay, I guess. And
so did y'all ride up there together to pick her up?
I think just me and Elizabeth went to pick her up and brought her home, but he was okay after we brought her home. But I don't know. She's always been super sweet. I think she was probably a few months old when we
she was
picked
small.
her up, small. Like,
oh wow,
still a kitten, but not like a little baby kitten.
So how does a cat like Gracie end up just like being a stray in a in a neighborhood, or just rolling around by herself? Like, I mean, you got to think like she probably had siblings, a mom. I know the dad figure's not present, right, in the cat community, or I heard they always try to eat the babies or something.
Really?
Something like that.
I don't know
if that's true.
like,
maybe that's tigers. I don't know.
If it's like, I've heard if they're inside family, like sometimes the dad will be more apart, but maybe out in the wild they're not as likely to out roaming around.
They're probably out drinking beer or something, watching the game.
But
so how does a cat like Gracie get in the situation where, she's just a stray around a neighborhood?
I mean, I think either the mom cat was, just wild, so the cat was born out in the wild, and although the mother cat will usually take care of them for a while, once they get to a certain point where they're weaned, they're kind of probably more on their own, and or like we were talking about, like with your friend, where they get a cat and then that cat has cats, and then their
and they just run in it,
and then they just the family gets overwhelmed or whatever, and then they can't keep 10 cats inside or whatever,
right.
So they start letting some of them out, and then the problem compounds, I guess, because then they start getting around other cats.
So you picked up Gracie when she was just a couple months old, and then from there it's just been peaches and cream.
Yeah.
She's the sweetest one. So walk me through all your animals real quick and tell me a little bit about each one, and we'll finish with Gracie, okay?
Okay. Let's see. So we have a cat. His name was originally Reese's because he's the one that I had brought the mom home, and she had 3 kittens. Mm-hmm. And so Elizabeth always liked to name the cats food names for some reason. So we had Skittles and Reese's and M&M, and he's the only one left of those 3. I think he's about 10 or 12 years old.
Okay, that's cool.
Not sure. And then we have a cat. Oh, but Reese's is the one Elizabeth has always started calling Piggy because
you told me.
He's kind of like Gracie, a little on chunky side.
Y'all have 2 different names for it, but you don't like calling him Piggy, right?
Not too much. That's what they call him. So
right.
I mean, I guess I've gotten more used to it.
I did see a picture of him. He is a little on the chunky side.
He's probably chunkier than her.
Yeah.
He likes to eat, and then we have a cat named Parker, and actually a friend of mine's daughter had found her at a park. That's why she named her Parker. Mm-hmm. And she had an injured leg, and they had inside dogs, like a pit bull and stuff, so they couldn't really bring her in. And so her daughter was asking if we could take it in. That's how I ended up with her. She's a super sweet cat, but she's the one that doesn't get along with Reese's. They're the ones that fight.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I don't know, and it seems like they got along for a little while, and then all of a sudden they just became enemies, and now we can't have them together at all.
That's crazy. I wonder if there's within the cat society, when because they were both strays, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some sort of gang life that they're in. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're from rival gangs and they just know it. I don't know. We don't really know what's going on inside of the cat life, but. It's, to me, I think it's so funny, with animals, some animals get along and some animals from the first second don't get along. Do you think it's a dominance thing? Is that a thing in the cat world? I know, with dogs, they establish who's dominant when they first meet. Do cats do the same thing or not really?
I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like it's more like a personality thing, but I don't know, personalities clashing, but I'm not real sure about that. Trying to think of my cats. Let's see.
Piggy.
Yeah, and then there's we have one that my friend's cat had kittens, and she asked us if we would take one, and so we told him it was his birthday present because we got it on his birthday.
He was like, no.
Yeah. Just so he couldn't say no. And then
that's awesome.
She's the one, her name was originally Galaxy, but for some reason we've been calling her Kitten forever. And even though now she's 8, she's not really
still kitten,
but we still call her Kitten. And
that's cool.
She's the one that's tortoise shell that's kind of got the attitude.
Tort's got the tude. What's it?
Torties have tude.
Torties that got tude, yeah.
And then there's Gracie here that we picked up from Steven. I feel like I'm missing one.
So Gracie's your favorite?
Oh yeah, but my newest cat. She's probably her demeanor's my favorite.
Yeah.
Just calm and
right.
Sweet. She's being a little shy here because she's not used to being out around people.
Right.
But
she got a little stage fright. It's her first podcast.
And then the other one is the newest cat we have is Tiny, who's the one that I rescued.
Yes, is that the one that had the issue with her eye?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Her eyeball had actually ruptured. When I saw her eye was all sticking out of her face, and
we'll post these pictures. We'll get them from Stephanie and post them.
And pus on it, but I didn't realize it had actually ruptured. I just thought maybe she had a really bad infection or something. So I wasn't sure if I was going to keep her because tend to like me keep getting cats, but I wanted to at least like take her to.
Unless it's his birthday.
Yeah, I don't think he liked his present. But I wanted to at least take her to the vet. But when we took her to the vet, they said that her eyeball was actually. And at that point, like, they had cleaned it, and I could see it better, because at first I just thought there was a lot of pus or something. But you could see that had actually, like, there was actually, like, it had actually bust, I guess, or whatever. So they said that, the eyeball was already damaged. There was, like, no way to save the vision in that eye, but she does still have vision in her other eye. But since I knew that she was going to be handicapped, basically, like, in one eye, I decided to take her in. So.
And what has that been like? You should have got her like a little eye patch. She'd be like a little pirate,
When we found her too, she was like 5 or 6 weeks old, but she only weighed like 0.75 pounds, like less than a pound.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
crazy.
She was tiny for her age.
So she was basically starving.
Yeah, she was in one of those like cat colonies, basically in like in the woods, like
the gangs. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. I knew that they had gangs.
So I think I call her like the street cat, because like when we feed her now, if another cat's around, she's like, like, so I think she was trying to fight for food, but her being so small and having some disability, I guess it was harder for her to get food. So just like start taking care of her, feeding her, and she's gained weight, and now she's a healthy weight and playful kitten and likes to run around.
Right.
I call her the sweet innocent baby, but Tim and Elizabeth call her the little pterodactyl.
The little pterodactyl. Yeah, she's from the woods.
Are a little bit feisty, like to jump around and stuff. But.
Right. So do you have, like, I know I have my favorite cat story, or I guess the coolest thing, or the weirdest thing maybe, that I've ever seen with cats. Do you have anything that you've seen, like your coolest story, weirdest story with a cat, or anything like that?
I mean, I guess the thing that surprised me the most was finding out that they could have multiple cat dads in one cat litter.
That's a little
weird. I never knew that for a long time, and so like mama cat can have like 3 or 4 or 5 kittens, and they could have like 3 or 4 dads, and so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Dang, can you imagine the child support that they would be getting right now? Man, we got to start that child support for cats, man. We'd be rich. That'd be crazy. But I know one of the craziest things I've ever seen with cats is when we were in the Middle East, we were in this village and very primitive, like farming village or whatever. And I remember going out one day, my family friend was like, hey, go help my great aunt feed the cats, feed the chickens. She's like 100 years old, And so we were going out there, and you see all these chickens, and there's this one cat. I mean, it was like a kitten. I mean, it was kind of like super underfed or whatever, but it was out there with like 20 chickens, like a part of this chicken community, and it was like trying to eat, and like the chickens were like, all over it, and it was like jumping in the thing and eating with them. So it thought it was a chicken, because like I don't know where its mom was or whatever, but we tried to feed it. We put some food aside for it, but it was eating like wheat. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all they really had. And so that's one thing with like, I feel like we're doing great in this country with taking care of animals. Like we have a lot of programs, but in some ways we're slacking, and, around the world, there's a lot of animals that are in need. So, but I always thought that was really cool that like, the cat had adapted itself to be like part of this, like, chicken community or whatever.
One thing I loved is how, your Tata had cats, how she started like taking care of Johnny. Yeah. And in a way your mom started, like your mom always was scared of cats almost, or disliked cats. Yeah. And then when Tata became affectionate for Johnny, it seemed like it kind of brought your mama in. Yeah. And then now that Timothy has Smokey, your mom's like affectionate towards him, and that was surprising to me.
See, and that's what I was saying earlier in the podcast, is that I think people can close that gap to loving animals. Some people are inherently more gifted towards that, like, as much as you can get somebody there, they're probably not going to stop and pick up a stray on the side of the road like you, because you just have that gift and that, natural love. But yeah, you can get people to that. And I feel like, through exposing people through different things, like with my grandma, when she would take care of the stray cats, like there would be more stray cats that came. And then, like, you know, the mom would be there, and then Johnny, and then he had a girlfriend that he would bring over. And, like, it was just this whole dynamic, and the mom and the girlfriend didn't get along. And then this other cat would come, and then there was always this big orange cat that, like, all of them hated and were scared of. And I was like, dude, the cat world is just, like, I wish I could dive into the brain of a cat sometime, because they have such a dynamic world in life. And so you got your cats. I know you have, before we play a little game with Gracie, if she cooperates, I know you have a turtle, and you also have a hamster, right?
Well, our hamster sadly recently passed away, but we did have
him
for a little over 2 years. But
rest in peace.
Yeah.
He just ran too many wheels.
I'm not sure. I think she might have had a stroke. Well, apparently when hamsters get older, that's kind of
So 2
common.
years is old for a hamster?
Yeah, usually they live 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Maybe longer depending on the breed, but yeah. So
Okay.
like she got to like for a couple weeks she was like walking kind of wobbly and stuff, and just not as healthy, I guess. So.
That's crazy. Rest in peace to what was the hamster's name?
Squish.
Squish done got squished. That's crazy. Well, so tell us about the turtle. I think that's probably one of my favorite of your pets.
So when Elizabeth was 2, her papa...
Elizabeth is her daughter.
Yeah.
My niece.
When Elizabeth was 2, her papa gave her the turtle, and it was a little small turtle. And,
where did he get the turtle?
I think his nephew maybe works in a fish hatchery place or something.
So it was just hanging around?
Maybe they had turtles there too. I'm not sure, or maybe they found it. I don't really know exactly, but so we started off having it in like a 10-gallon aquarium, but now we have it in a 55-gallon aquarium because it's probably about yay big.
Oh wow!
But turtles, they're probably like life. I'm like, well, that turtle's probably gonna outlive all. It's like, you know, if you get a turtle, you better be ready for a lifetime.
How old is your turtle?
Well, let's see. So probably like 17 now.
Wow, that is nuts. That is crazy. And with the turtle's name?
Shalina.
Okay.
Elizabeth named her when she was 2.
That's dope. That's pretty cool. That's cool. Well, do you think that we can get Gracie out of her shell, since you know, and see if we can see what kind of toys and snacks she's usually playing with?
We can try. She's a little nervous or scared. But...
Is there any way we can what do you want to do? We can set them up on the table and see which one she will pick. We're gonna see which one she likes. Nope, none of them.
Her personality. She doesn't really play.
Okay, so we're not a big fan of the toys. That's okay. Gracie. She said none on the toys. All right, we can try the snacks.
I don't know if it'd do any different, but maybe put it in front of her. No. Let's try the snacks.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so you can leave her. It's okay. She can go. You know, in your whole time of like taking care of animals and loving animals, have you ever felt like, I know a lot of people feel like there's a special connection that we have with animals, as far as like they say, like especially with dogs or cats and stuff, like they have like a sixth sense where they know like emotionally that there's something wrong with you, or if like you're super happy, they want to be happy with you. If you're sad, they want to comfort you. Have you ever do you experience that with your cats?
Yeah, a couple times when I've had surgery or I've been really sick, I've noticed that like like when I had my gallbladder surgery, like one of my cats sat by my side like almost the whole 2 weeks after I was recovering, you know. So I feel like they can sense when you're, you know, sad or sick or something's going on with you. I know like there's been a couple times where I was sick or something and the cat stayed by me. Or even just like, you know, like when David died and I was sad, you know, really sad for a few days. I felt like I don't know, I guess they sense when you're crying or when you're upset about something.
So they stick closer to you.
Yeah.
That's something I've always thought was so cool about animals, is like, you know, I think a lot of times as humans, we like to kind of classify animals as like a lower intelligent species, and in some ways they are, but I feel like in other ways they're a lot more intelligent than humans. And I think emotionally that is one of the things. It's like, you know, you can put a face on and lie to a human and they wouldn't even know. But like with animals, your actual feelings, I feel like emit, whether it's vibrations or whatever, and they sense that, and there's no hiding how you truly feel. Like if there's something wrong with you, like you're anxious or something like that, they'll be the first people to be able to, you know, look at that and know how you feel.
And we had when we had our dog Booster a long time ago, we took her to the vet and she stayed overnight.
Booster was a girl?
I mean him.
Sorry. Oh, I was about to say.
We took him to the vet.
I was like,
you know, we took him to the vet and he stayed overnight, and then when we went to pick him up, like most of the time he was always like super calm, you know, didn't really get aggressive. And then this one lady came out from the back and he like went off, like,
oh geez.
So I don't know, it's almost like, you know, did she do something to him, or is there something about her that he doesn't know, or something, you know, just sometimes like strange reaction to people or whatever.
Yeah, certain people. Well, like I've always been told, like anytime that there's like big dogs or whatever, they always like to come near me and like sit at my feet or lay on me. And people are like, oh, you just have a pure soul or something like that. Like dogs can tell. So I think like dogs and cats are very different, you know, but they have that emotional intelligence. And I think that's really cool. So over your years of loving animals, and we're going to have you back on the podcast time after time. You know, if you want Tim Crow on the podcast, comment Tim Crow. And if we get enough comments, we're going to make him get on the show. But over your time as an animal lover, and I got to see this really firsthand, and you got to be our first podcast on the Family Files, which is just sitting down, simple conversation, nothing fancy about people in our family, and just like passionate topics and things that matter. And you've always been the person that, like, if I've always had an animal question or you know, wanted to know anything about animals, like you were my go-to. I think it's a great trait. I think a lot of people have it and a lot of people don't. And the people who have it, you just can't teach it. It's something that you inherently have, and it's a beautiful thing to help take care of animals and to have that love. But over your time, as you know, all these years, what would you give any advice to somebody? Somebody that is not necessarily an animal lover, but trying to learn how to love animals and treat them right, and maybe bring some animals into their home, and then B, just in general on like how we can be better about like helping animals, things that you've done with like strays and stuff, like even if somebody might not want to take it into their house, like what they can do and those kind of steps. So
yeah, well, even if you don't want an animal yourself, there's lots of ways you can help. Like, you know, a lot of the animal shelters and animal rescue places are always asking for donations, like financial donations to help animals, or food donations to help animals, or, you know, just various things, like even like old towels or sheets or something to make the animals more comfortable. And then like animals also give back to us. Like there's a lot of studies that show that people that have pets tend to live longer, and their blood pressure tends to be better. So not only are you helping the animal, but the animal can help you in a lot of ways, you know, like just like even with just loneliness, or, you know, just having someone that, you know, most animals are unjudgmental, you know, like they're always going to love you, unconditional love.
Unconditionally,
you know? So, and actually, like, I was reading about how cats, they believe, have a healing frequency in their purr.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've seen that, because a lot of the ancient Egyptian stuff, they would have a lot of like cats and cat symbolisms, and like even in healing stuff. So yeah.
So when Tim's mom had spinal surgery on like her neck and her vertebrae, she had to wear this machine that does vibration for like such amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so I just thought that was interesting that they say that cats purr at a similar vibration that can be healing to people. And then, you know, there's also ways that you can help if you don't want to have to go anywhere. Just like maybe, like I was talking about in the winter, like maybe setting up like you can take an old storage tote and cut a little hole in it and put either some straw or like an old styrofoam cooler in there, and just somewhere safe for animals to go in the winter. Or like we tend to leave our garage open just a little bit if like a cat's cold in the winter or something, it could get in the garage. So like you don't always have to be involved with the animal itself to be able to help animals.
Right.
I also, like, not cats, but we also sometimes have possums that will come up to eat cat food and stuff. And even though possums are kind of ugly and sometimes scary because they can hiss, they're also actually really good for the environment. They kill ticks and they don't carry rabies. Like, their temperature is so low that usually they can't catch rabies. And so I feel like sometimes people mistreat possums.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I found one time I was going on a walk and I found a baby possum. It was like squeaking. And it was just, the day was tiny. It was tiny. And so I didn't know what to do because I looked around and I know they're nocturnal animals and it was the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And it was just like lost in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, this thing's going to it was in the middle of the summer. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this thing's going to get killed if I leave it out here. So I took it to the animal shelter, and they said that they have like people who rehabilitate them.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that possum's doing okay. Maybe it's watching this podcast. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a thing where I feel like you can go buy so many animals and be like, oh, and then just keep going with your day. And I think that's kind of how we've been conditioned to do. To just kind of like, oh, somebody else is going to do it. But then if everybody has that mentality of somebody else is going to take care of this animal, that animal never gets taken care of. And so, and I've also seen the community of people who are like, leave them out there as strays because that's what they enjoy doing. And I don't know if I would necessarily believe that, fighting for every meal is necessarily what you want to do. I guess there is some sort of freedom. But for me, I think at least with domesticated animals, it's like kind of against what they've been raised to do. And, and
I think, too, the big thing is if you do get a pet, like before you get a pet, realizing that it is a lifelong commitment,
Yeah.
and that like... Especially
if you're getting a turtle.
Yeah.
You're 17 years in.
Yeah, for sure. But even like cats and dogs, they're going to live several years.
Yeah.
And some people will get an animal and they'll keep it while it's a puppy or a kitten because it's all cute and little, and then it grows up and they get annoyed with it or something, or they don't want to walk it every day or whatever, and they end up letting it go. And I think that contributes a lot to the stray population and like animals being mistreated or abused because they're trying to go up to people or places to get food or whatnot. And
right.
Sometimes people don't want them around.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. So what's your piece of advice for anybody out there who's like becoming a new pet owner? Do you have any advice, like, first of all, ways to love cats? Like, have you picked up anything over the years that could help somebody who's getting a new cat into their family, or maybe adding their 10th cat, that could give advice on like how to treat them, how to keep them happy? Because obviously you have gang war territory going on at your cat house and you still keep it calm and under control. So that's like level 10 cat master,
I think the big thing with a cat especially is giving it some time, because I know some people have taken a cat home in like 2 or 3 days. They're like, oh, this cat don't like me, or whatever. And then they take it back. But like, cats is going to take time to warm up to you and to warm up to her environment. Just like Gracie's not real thrilled to be here today because it's a strange environment and she, some people she's not used to. I think if you take a cat home initially, it's probably going to try to hide like under the furniture or under the bed and not come out and not want really anything to do with you. And you might think, well, this cat don't like me, or I don't like this cat. But giving it some time to warm up to you and get used to you. And even like a lot of the stray kittens are, like you'd say, super spicy or mean, and you have to kind of give them a chance to warm up to you. And a lot of times you can, with food, kind of win them over slowly. But just realize, like, it's an adjustment for them, too. Even though you're trying to get used to having a pet, they have to get used to your environment and realizing that you're someone they can trust and that they feel safe there and all that.
Okay, good. So, well, thank you for being on the first podcast. Like I said, if you want to see Tim Crow on, we're definitely going to get him on this thing as well. And just comment Tim Crow. And also, if you have any questions, you want to send any kind of love or anything to Stephanie and her cats, I'm going to attach her TikTok. And that's mainly where you do most of your cat stuff, right? TikTok? Yeah, so I'm going to attach her TikTok. You guys can follow her there. I know I've been trying to convince her next cat needs to be a Maine Coon cat. So if you ever want to send Stephanie a Maine Coon cat, I think they're cool. I think it would kind of spice things up, at the Crow household. But you can also send her that through TikTok. So I'm going to attach it. Y'all can take this now, all my cat-loving fans. We don't have fans right now, but when we do have fans that love cats, we're definitely honored to have somebody who loves cats and animals 100% genuinely from the heart, really means it, will stop on the side of the road at the busiest day on her way to work or anywhere to help a cat, to rehab a cat, and to take it, even though it might not be the most convenient thing. And sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it turns into a lot of work, but at the end of the day, we're saving cat lives out there. And for all of your cat fans, that's what we want to see. So, Stephanie, do you have anything else you want to tell the people? Any advice, anything that you'd like to say before we log off?
I mean, what you said just now just reminded me that I did almost get run over one time trying to save a cat that was in the middle of the, that busy intersection where the bypass of Walnut Avenue.
Oh, God, that thing's like 6 lanes.
And I saw a kitten in the middle of the road, and it was just staring up, and cars were driving over the top of it, so I ended up pulling over to go get it. And, my mind's just like a cat, And so, I'm crossing the road, and then this man comes out, and I did come close to getting hit, so just be careful if you are rescuing animals. But luckily I didn't, and also it made me late for work, and I was thinking what am I going to do with this cat? But then ended up somebody else stopped, and they're like, I'll take it. So I was glad.
Great.
It was covered in wool, and it just looked so sad, and I knew it was going to get killed if it got hit. And then another time, on the bypass up near the 75 interstate, there was a little kitten in the middle of the road, and this lady was trying to save it, and I was worried for her safety.
Yeah. So
I turned my car sideways to kind of protect her so that, other people wouldn't hit her. So
right.
She ended up saving it. But.
Oh, man. I bet Tim Crow's like, oh, my gosh.
I'm pretty sure I was by myself for both of those. Yeah. He'd probably been like, we're not stopping him. But.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now I know we're related because, one time I stopped on this back road where it's a blind hill to save a turtle, and I almost got ran over.
That's what I was going to say. Tim likes to stop for the turtles, but you gotta be careful because I've read stories where the turtles have dug their claws into the carpet, and then people can get them out of their car and stuff.
Yeah. No, mine ran into under the seat, and I had to get it out, and I was like, am I gonna get warts?
The last time he rescued a turtle, it was snapping at him too. But he just carried it real fast across the road. I've read that if you do stop for a turtle, the best thing to do instead of putting your car is to take it whatever direction it's going to. It's trying to cross the street, take it across the street.
Yeah. So, awesome. You heard it here first. Stephanie's risking her life every day to save these cats out on the street. And if you see her on the road saving a cat, honk and wave at her. And we're going to attach her TikTok. So it's been great to sit down with you, sis. Much love. I appreciate it. Thank you for being on. So that's it.
TikTok is private.
Wasn't so.
Is that bad?
Yeah, you're going to have to go public on that TikTok.